Imagine your PowerApps looks so clean, people think you hired a professional front-end designer. I want that for you. And the best part, you don't need to be a designer yourself. In my last video, I shared 3 hacks to level up your UI. But this time, we're going to build together. From rough idea to clean UI to a working prototype. And we'll do it in just 3 steps. So grab your coffee, we're going in. So for this video, we want to build a project management app. Not too complex, just maybe a sidebar, maybe a gallery on the right side, maybe a button to start a new project. And before we dive into PowerApps, we actually want to know how our app should look like. And that's why step 1 is so important. To get some inspiration, to get the feel for it. And to do so, there are multiple pages and websites to look at to get inspiration for front-end design. One page I specifically like is Dribbble. So let's go into it. Alright, so in Dribbble we want to basically just look for web apps which could be similar to ours which we're building. So I will type in web app modern project management and let's see what happens. Alright, so this is what we get and instantly I see this one. I actually like the contrast between the sidebar and the cards. Let me click on this one. So you can see we have a sidebar component. I actually like the sidebars which are collapsible, where you can press on a button here and then it actually closes. And the rest of the sidebar having lighter colors, maybe like this white gray kind of look. And when I look at the cards, I actually like these pill kind of components. I could imagine putting things like status, like is the app, like is the project ongoing, or is it on hold, or is it done? I could imagine putting that in there. So what we want to do is we actually want to take screenshots of things we like and enjoy. Let me just take that screenshot, we copy it, and then we go to a page. In my case, I made a Notion page just to paste in some inspiration, and we can say some stuff over there. So let me go back to Dribbble. Let's go and look if there's more what we like. You will just scan over it. It's not too complicated. Just see what you like. Oh, this looks... See, this is what I'm talking about. This looks pretty cool. I like this darker sidebar. And let me just stop here. Let me take a screenshot. This is perfect, actually. This is perfect. A perfect looking project management app. Let me just copy that and put that into our inspiration box. Let's go. Let's see what else we've got. You don't even have to take a screenshot of the whole page. You can also just say, okay, I like this sidebar, so I will just take a screenshot of that sidebar and go back to inspiration and paste it in there. And it doesn't have to be that perfect as well. So if you just say, actually, I just saw an app and that one app is the perfect inspiration, just go with that one. You can even save 20 pictures and work with those 20 pictures later. But in our case, I would like to have one more. I'm looking at these 2 right now, but what I like is that they have this collapsed sidebar, and I actually want to do something similar for our apps. So I will just take a screenshot of this as well as inspiration. And all right. So now we've got some kind of a feel in which direction this whole thing is going. And that leads us to step 2. So step 2 is about designing with AI. And for that, we will open V0. So now in V0, we can type in what our app should look like. We can give it a prompt, and we can also add our pictures as inspiration for the AI itself. So for the prompt, we want to include these 4 points: purpose, layout and sections, key elements and style, and styling and aesthetic. And a full prompt could look like this: design a clean, modern project dashboard UI with a vertical sidebar on the left, with darker background, showing navigation items. In the main area, display a heading, a subtitle, and a grid of rounded project cards. Each card should have a title, team name, and a pill-style status label. Blue means in progress, red means blocked, and green means done. The design should be minimal, modern, with soft shadows, rounded corners, clean fonts, and good spacing. Alright, so now I can add these pictures in there as well. And then we can hit enter, and V0 will start working. So now V0 will look at our prompt and also at the pictures to understand what we want to have, and we'll try to build the app which we described, but maybe with the style of the pictures we gave it. That will take around 30 seconds to 1 minute, and afterwards we have our first version. Alright, and here it is. This is the app V0 produced, and to be honest, it actually looks pretty good. Sometimes it's luck, sometimes you just give V0 a prompt and it instantly looks perfect, and sometimes you need to tweak things, but you can just play around. You can just prompt to change stuff, you can prompt to add stuff, and you just tweak around until you're satisfied. And then you have your first version of your app. at least you have the UI. And from there on, we can go to our third step, and that's going to be rebuild it in PowerApps. So in PowerApps, we want to start a new app on a blank canvas, tablet size. And the first thing which we want to do is actually start over here. And this is a small hack, but it works pretty good. And what I usually do is I take a screenshot of that finished design, copy that screenshot, and then I go into ChatGPT. All right, and in ChatGPT, what I did is I posted the picture of the app and I said, I want to rebuild this in PowerApps. I want to use the exact same colors. Please generate a color palette in this format. Sidebar background equals hex value and so on. What I gave ChatGPT right here is that I want to have the colors of this app in my app, and it should give me a color palette which I can post into the formula section of my app, which can create global variables, and with that I can work throughout my whole app with the same colors. And even if I want to add dark mode later on, it's easier this way than replacing every color manually. So what I had to fix though is that we don't want the hex values, we want the RGB values, and this is what I did here. So I got the RGB values, I will take them, I will go into PowerApps, and now I will go to the app section, I will go to formulas, and I will just paste it here. So now we have a bunch of global variables with the colors we need, and from here on we can start building. So when we want to start building, we need to do this strategically because it will save some time. One main component, one big component is the sidebar. We want to build this from scratch right now. And to do that, we will dive into PowerApps, and it shouldn't be that complicated. My strategy is I can see we have different kinds of sections here in this sidebar. So we have this upper section, which gives us the title and the logo of the app. Then we have this lower section, which is the user who's using the app right now. We have an avatar, we have the name, we have the role. And then we have these sections here. I would call them first block, second block, and maybe a spacing block. So let's start with this upper part. Let's go into PowerApps. Let's get a container. Let's change the X and Y value to 0 and 0. And now we can work with height and width. Let's say the width is going to be around somewhere between 15 and 20% of the parent width. I like 17%. And the height is going to be the parent height. All right. Usually the containers come with a drop shadow and a radius. I don't want both of them. And then we can change the color. So let's go to color and just type in the variable, and we will get that dark color for our sidebar. All right. And now what we can do is we can put in the container up here for the logo and the app name. And for that, we will get another container, but this time we will use a horizontal container. Put the container in here. We will change some adjustments like Y value to 0. We will also take away the drop shadow, radius to 0. Perfect. The height can be something like, let's try out parent height. And then we will use, let's say 7%. That looks good. All right, perfect. And now what we can do is we can insert a logo and the title. For the logo, we could use the PowerApps icons, but we can also go to PowerIcons.dev and we will have more possibilities there. So let's head over to PowerIcons.dev and we could go through like the standard icons which are there, but I want to have that dashboard icon which we have in here as well. So let me open this external SVG window, open this link to copy icons and look for a dashboard. And here we go. I like this one. So let's go back to PowerIcons. Let's put the SVG code in here. Let's adjust the color to white. Perfect. Convert and copy. It instantly copies the YAML code. And now we can go back to PowerApps and we can just hit Control V and the icon is in here. So let's change the height. The height property we can set to parent height. Perfect. And we can say it has flexible width, and that's pretty much it. And now we have a nice looking logo in here. And then we can insert a text label. That's going to be our title. We can set the color to white. And now we can adjust the height to parent height. We can adjust the font size to 16, make the font bold, and write down Project Hub as the title. So we have the same project name as the one here in V0. So now what we want to do is we want to actually make this look a bit better. So we will go and set some paddings at the top, maybe 10 and maybe at the bottom 10 as well. Starts looking good. And then we can put these closer together, so we can take away the padding here on the left side. We can say it's going to be, let's make this 0 and let's make the padding here on the left side maybe 35. I think that's all right. But you know what? I think it's too much on the right side. So let's change the proportions of the field proportions. So first of all, let's make this label flexible, take away the minimum width, and then we can make this 0.5, for example, so a fourth of the space. And now we can change that padding maybe to 25 or to 25. So now it looks good. All right, now we have the logo and the app title, and then we can add the other containers as well. So we have this first container here, and we can add the other containers as well. So let me get a vertical container. Here we go. And for the position, we need to we want to tell PowerApps where exactly it should be by defining it in the Y property. So we can say, we get the name of this container, we go to container pages, we go to its Y property, we say it should start at the other container's height. So now it actually always knows, okay, it should be under this other container. From here on, we can set the height of the vertical container, but we probably first need a third container down here. Let me just check in V0. I will close these other two tabs. Yeah, we have the name. We have the name of the user, a picture, and the job title here. So we can paste another container down here. So the vertical container can expand fully between those two containers at the bottom and the top. And then we can put in all the pages in there. So let's go back to PowerApps. We can actually copy this container up there, paste it, put it down there. We can actually define the Y value. We can say parent height and then minus self height. There we go. So it's always going to be down there. We are going to delete the name, delete the logo. We're going to delete the name of the app as well here. We can say container user information, and now it's saved. And then we can go back to our container pages and we can say that its height should be parent height minus, and then we can say con user information height minus con app name height. There we go. And now this vertical container is perfectly placed in the sidebar. And what we want to do now is we want to actually set the width as well. So I want to say the width is going to be parent width. And I think we can set the whole thing. We can set this for the other containers as well. All right, perfect. So container is set here as well and there as well. And now we can start with the pages. So what we want to do for the page buttons, we want to actually not use the modern buttons in PowerApps, because I've seen that some people still have troubles and issues with them. So we want to stick to traditional or classic components in PowerApps, but we want to create the same effect, like this house and a title here and this button, like this button color when hovering over it. So in our vertical container, we actually need horizontal containers. And the cool part about it is it's actually pretty easy to do that. So we can go back to PowerApps. We can just insert a horizontal container. We can set the width to parent width. We need to get down with the minimum width so it actually fits in our sidebar. And now we can call this, let's say, container block 1, because it's going to be showing this main title here. It's going to be for the block 1, and I will call this part block 2. So let's go back to PowerApps. Sometimes playing around with these containers is a try and error, but let's just make it simple. Let's say we have this first block, this second block, and a third spacing block. So we can just use two vertical containers for the first two blocks and a normal container for the spacing block. So we can say, we can go to container, choose a vertical container, go to the width, type in parent width, go to the minimum width and reduce it to 0. So it actually fits into our sidebar. We can call it block 1, container block 1. Then we copy and paste the whole thing for block 2. And now we can just paste one more normal container in here, which is going to be the spacing container. We will set the size in a minute, but for now we can just call it container spacing. So we can set the minimum width to 0 and the width to parent width, and there we go. So now it fits into the sidebar. We have our first vertical container, our second vertical container, and our spacing container. And now what we can see is that they have all these flexible heights selected. So they're sharing the space, and we can actually set in what proportion this should happen. So right now it's even. Everyone's taken 1/3 of the space. We want these to be smaller than that one. We go to the container spacing and we will say that this is going to take 2/3 of the space. So now we have this first block, the second block, and the spacing. I just realized a few things. We actually want to have some kind of logo or icon here actually to collapse the whole sidebar. Let's do that. Let's quickly add one more icon here. So we can use a simple icon from PowerApps. Let me just use the cancel icon like that. Here we go. We will adjust the sizes in a minute. So let me just adjust the color, play around with height and width. So we say height is going to be parent height. There we go. And the width is going to be flexible as well. Same as here and there, but this one needs to be smaller. So we're going to say it's going to be something like 0.3 maybe. I think that's all right. We need to adjust the padding here. We can say it's going to be 15. Let's make it 10. There we go. The X is too large, so I need to add some padding as well from the top and the bottom. So let's say 10 and 10. It should be just subtle and small. Just as a reminder, you can actually close the sidebar. Maybe like this, maybe even smaller, right? We can even go to, let's say 17 and 17. I think that's all right. That's good. So by pressing that, we can actually close the sidebar. That's cool. So let's get back to our vertical containers. What we want to do now is we want to recreate this kind of feeling. So having some kind of button, hovering over it will change the color. And to do that, we set a few containers in here. So a first one, a second, third, and fourth. So what we want to do is we want to choose the usual container. Here we go. Set the minimum width to 0. And then we need to say parent width. Then we say container block, let's say content. Then we copy that, paste that here again, paste it again, and paste it again. And now we can take out the minimum width in all of them, and they should lay out perfectly. Every one of them taking 1/4 of the space. All right, now we have those 4 containers. So in the first one, we will just add some text. We will call it main, as in our V0 app. We can make it parent width, so it doesn't fly around when we're using the app. And we can set its X value to 0, and this one to 0 as well. We can set the height to parent height. There we go. Text color should be white. Perfect. And now we can play with the padding. Since this padding up here was 10, we can try to kind of imitate that, but I think we need to go further up to kind of align everything. So let me try 20. That looks pretty good. So we have the main here. I think the color was grayish, right? Oh yeah, okay. So we can check ChatGPT. I think it said the secondary color is going to be this gray color. So let's get back to PowerApps and try it out. So we go to the color, we type in secondary, and there we go. Looks good. We can, since it's above everything else, we can actually say that it's going to be semi-bold. So, all right, perfect. Now we can go to our button options. We have to insert a horizontal container in here so we can put in a logo or an icon and the actual word. And we can do that by just typing in horizontal container. We put the container in there, and now the container just needs to adjust its size. So we say parent height, we say parent width, we turn off all the minimum widths and minimum heights, take away the drop shadow. That's perfect. And now we can insert an icon. Let's say this house icon. I think for now it's all right. Let's just use that one. All right, we just adjust the height as well here. Parent height, and we can say a flexible width, and then we need to insert a text label as well. Set the color. There we go. And same thing for our text label. We can set the color to secondary. Perfect. We can call this, just see, it's going to be home, right? So we go to PowerApps. We can call this home. Perfect. Let's set the font size to 12, make it a bit smaller. Now this doesn't look good yet, so we will set the paddings top and bottom to 15. That was far too much, so we'll set it to maybe 5. We can even go further, so let's say maybe 7 and 7. Just play around until it feels good. All right, this looks kind of good. So now we have the icon next to home, but we don't have this hover effect as we had in our V0 sidebar. So we'll go back to our app, and what we have now is we have this container. In there we have a horizontal container, but we will put a button over it. So we will take a usual classical button. We will make the width and height, the parent height and width. So we will say parent width, and for the height we will say parent height. We will make it start at leftist point and Y0 as well. We will take out the text, and we will make everything transparent. Every part of it. Perfect. So I took out all the colors, I made everything transparent, took away the border, and now we have a button. But now what we want to achieve is this kind of grayish overtone. So what we can do is we can set the hover color to some kind of gray. So let's set it to maybe this or like this color. But the problem now is that we don't see anything. So we go into the hover color, which is going to be the hover fill, and we will take away a bit of the opacity. So let's say 0.3. It's going to be 30% of the actual opacity, and that gives this effect as we had in the V0 app. Maybe let's take away a bit more, and this looks pretty good. So let me just see one more thing. You can see that here are some margins, so maybe we should add this to our app as well. So let's go back to our button. We go to width, and let's say it's going to be parent width times maybe 80%. So it's going to be 80% of the parent width, or maybe even more. Let's say 90%. Should be fine. Now we want to put this in the middle, and so we go to our X value and we say parent width divided by 2 minus self width divided by 2. So now it's perfectly in the middle, and you see we get this nice hovering effect. And what we can do is we can add another color effect to the pressed color. We will do it this way. Let me just get the hover color back. Hover fill. We take this, we copy it, we go to pressed fill, we paste, we say color fade. We paste this color in, and we say it's going to be minus 20 more %. And now if we hover over it and we press it, it actually gets a bit darker, and it gives this nice feeling, which we might get here as well. No, it doesn't even have this here, but I think personally it looks a bit better, and it actually gives a nice feeling when pressing the button. So things are going good. So we have this button, we can call it button block content, and now we can close this. We can say label block 1 main. Let me just call it this way. You can call it the way you actually want to call things. It's just important for you to find whatever you're looking for. And now we can say we want to copy this whole thing. We actually want to copy the whole thing, which is going to be the whole input basically. So everything that's in this container we want to copy. We press copy and we paste it here in this one, and we paste it again in this one. So now we have these 3 buttons. That was an easy step. And now we can just check dashboard, analytics. So we can type the same thing here. We can say it's going to be dashboard, and here it's going to be analytics. There we go. Now we can change the icons. So for dashboard, I think they have a dashboard icon, which we probably don't have in PowerApps. So let me just check for a second. So what we can do is when it doesn't have the icon you actually have, you can delete that icon and you can go back to PowerIcons. And let's say we want to get the same dashboard icon as we had previously. So we go and type in dashboard, look for it. Let's say we like this one. We go back to PowerIcons, paste the SVG code in here. We change the colors to, and now we have to check the color here. So we go back, go to the colors, go to hex 6B7280. There we go. Now we've got that grayish color. We copy and convert that. We go back to PowerApps and we can just paste it in that horizontal container. Now it doesn't really look good yet, so we have to replace it. We put it on the top. We adjust the height, which is going to be parent height. Parent height, there we go. And then we adjust the width. So we'll say 0.3 and nice, already looking better. Now we need to do the paddings. So let me just check that here once more, 6 and 10. So we go to our SVG and say top 6, bottom 10. I kind of feel like we should stick to same height here. Perfect. So now we have this dashboard icon as well. And for the analytics, let's check what they use here in our V0. Okay, it's an analytics icon. So I will quickly get an analytics icon and be right back. Perfect. So now we're back. We have the analytics icon as well. You can play around, you can choose icons as you like. And this is the way we can build this part in the sidebar. So we can actually now, what we can do is we can close all of this so we can have a better overview of all the components which we have in here. And we can say, we can copy all of these containers, press copy, and then go to our second block and just paste them in there. Perfect. So now we can just adjust the buttons and the icons and the text here. And then we're actually good to go with our sidebar. So I will just do that quickly. Perfect. Now we have this second part as well. And the only thing missing is the information down here. And so in V0, we've seen that we have a profile or maybe an avatar, the name of the user and the role of the user. You can add whatever you like. For me right now, I would just add the name of the user. So let me just copy some kind of label, paste it in here, change things and say user full name. And there we go. That's my full name. Now we can change the font size to maybe 12 and put this whole thing in the middle. And there we go. So we have the name of the user. We can change the color as well to our secondary text color. So we say, we write secondary, we can choose this text secondary color, and perfect. Now we have a nice looking sidebar. The only function which is missing right now in the sidebar is the collapse function. Right now we cannot press on the X to collapse the sidebar. So what we want to do is we want to press on X. We want the sidebar to collapse and get smaller so we can only see the icons. And to do that, we will have to set some variables. So for the X, we will go to the onSelect property and basically make it toggle this variable on and off. So when we press on it, it gets true and false. And so when it's false, it should be open. When it's true, it should be closed. So what we can do is we can set different sizes for the sidebar. So we can select the sidebar container. We can make this all collapse all of this. So we go to our sidebar container, go to the width, and we can type if variable sidebar is true, then it's 70%. And if it's not true, it's 5%. So now if I press on this button, you can see that the sidebar collapses, but it doesn't really look good yet. So we need to set some visibility options. So let's go back to our container here. And we can take away the visibility if the variable is true. So let's go to the visibility property and say var sidebar. And we will do the same for the logo. we go to visibility, property, and do this. So right now, if I press on the X, these components disappear. The only thing right now, this X icon should turn into a burger symbol when it's collapsed. So we can do that as well. We can actually type if it's going to be variable sidebar, it's going to be an icon cancel. Otherwise, it's going to be icon hamburger. All right. And now, perfect. Now it's actually changing its appearance when pressing on it. What we want to do now is we want to set it in the middle when it's collapsed. So we can easily do that by going to the portions. So we say if var sidebar, it's going to be 0.3, otherwise it's going to be 1. There we go. Now it's in the middle and it looks good already. So we want to do the same thing for the rest of these. So let me just show you the first ones and then I will do the rest. So for the main, we don't want to see it when it's collapsed. So we can just go to the visible property and say if var sidebar is false, then we want it to be false as well. Otherwise it's going to be true. So perfect. We can take that logic and use it for the other parts as well. So we can say we go to home, to the text part, and we put this in there. There we go. And I will do it quickly for the others as well. Okay, perfect. So now when we're collapsing the sidebar, it actually looks like this. So we still have the icons, but not the text anymore. The icons are too small though, so we need to adjust the proportion sizes, and we're going to do it like here as well. So we are going to copy basically the logic. So we are going to take this, go in here, go to our icon and say, do that. And I will do it for the rest quickly. Perfect. And now what we need is we need to put this in the middle. So we can take away the padding on the left if the variable is active. So we can say, I just copied that. I go to the padding left. I say if var sidebar, then 15, otherwise it's going to be 0. There we go. So we will copy this for the rest as well. So perfect. Now it's all in the middle. And now if we open it, we have a nice sidebar with buttons. If we close it, we still have the buttons, but no text anymore, and it looks clean. Nice. So when you're happy with that and you like your component which you just built, you can actually just copy the YAML code in there and reuse that in other apps. And I would recommend doing that just when you build something and you're like, okay, I like this, I like the look of this, and I could use this in other apps. Just copy that code, save it somewhere. And I usually just copy it. I go to my Notion page, I make a toggle, I say sidebar, for example, I open it. Here I would put in a picture, here I put a code box, and then I put the code in there. Then I would go back to PowerApps. Let's say I take a screenshot of this, I go back to Notion, and I put in the screenshot. Now when I'm working and I want to build a sidebar, I can go into my library and I can check if there's a sidebar I like. If I like it, I just press copy and I get the code. So I have my own component library which you can use. It's completely free. The link is in the description. So you can go here, copy the YAML code and post it into your PowerApps. And in this case, I actually like the sidebar, and I think I will just put the sidebar into my component library. So if you want to use it, just as I said, click the link in the description and you will find the sidebar there. So now we actually want to build the rest of the app. So looking into V0, we can see it's built pretty simple. So we have some kind of container here saying dashboard and another button. Then we have some more text here, a new project button and a gallery. So to do that, we will start with a container up here. We can just put in a regular container on this side. Let me just take that container and put it up here. We can say that its width is going to be dependent on the sidebar. So let's say it's parent width minus container sidebar width. There we go. But now we can see that the X value is not yet set. So to do that, we can actually go to X and say it's always going to start at container sidebars width. So if the width of container sidebar is smaller than now, it still sticks there and the container just adjusts its size. So we can take out the drop shadow again and we can change its height. We can actually make the height the same height as this container here. So it's parent height times 7%. So we can do the same thing here. Let's go to the height and just type in this. So we have the same height basically. So now I will just copy that label, paste the label in here, change the color to our primary text color, which is this darker color. There we go. And I will set the X value to 15 pixels. And we need to take out that visible toggle and just set it to true all the time. Change the text to dashboard. Perfect. So now we have the dashboard on this side, and then we want this outline button on the other side. And we can easily just go to my component library, choose outline button, copy the YAML code, and just paste it into the container. And now we can set the X value to parent width, which is going to set the button outside of the container, minus self width. Now it's going inside of the container. And now we will give it this 15 pixels distance. Perfect. Now we have 15 pixels here. We have 15 pixels here. Things are starting to look good. So we will align it in the middle. For that, I typed in parent height divided by 2 minus self height divided by 2 in the X value of the button. And now the button is nicely in the middle. Now it looks like a nice looking outline button. And let's check the text. It's at recent. You can put in anything you want. I will just do the same thing. So just remember, we have a traditional component. We have a classical component here, a classical button. So we cannot put an icon in there. If you use the modern components in PowerApps, you can actually put icons into your buttons, but for the classical, it doesn't work. And I will not bother. I will just leave it as it is. So for the next part, to give it all some structure, we can actually put this into a container. We can make another container here, and then we can make a last container for the gallery. So let's go to PowerApps and let's just copy this container and paste it. We adjust the Y value to contop height. Perfect. And now we can delete this button. We can leave this in here. We can adjust the height. And let's say we copy the text in project overview. We go back to PowerApps. We paste text in here. And since nothing is going to be over here, we can actually make the width parent width. We can set the X value to 0 and make a left padding of 15. And now things are just structured and clear. So I will copy and paste this next text part in here as well. I will copy the text in our V0 app and paste that in the subtitle. I need to make the text font size a bit smaller, and I will take out the boldness. I will make it semi-bold, and we need to change the color to our secondary color. Perfect. Now the distance is too big, so we can actually play around with our padding. For the top one, I will make a top padding of 15, maybe even more, 25, let's say. 25 looks good. And we will do the same for the bottom one, but in this case, we will just make the bottom padding to 25, maybe even 30. There we go. Cool. We can adjust the size of this container. So next thing is going to be this text part and the button. So for that, we can go back into PowerApps. We can copy this container, paste it once more, grab it and put it down here. So for the Y value, to actually always know what we want to do with it, we can type in container top 1 Y value plus container top 1 height. And then it's set to always be under the container 1. Now we can just paste in the text and a button over here. Let me just quickly do that. All right. I added the text. I also added this part where I said you have the number of active projects. For this, we need to know that I created an example SharePoint list. I have a few columns like title, status, team, start date, and end date. I just created them randomly. And in this case, I have a choice column status, and I said it should show me the active projects, which are basically not considered as done. So in this case, we have 10 active projects, which is shown here nicely. And I will add this one more button for new projects, which we can see in our V0 project. So let's go back to our library of components, copy the YAML code of this button and go back to PowerApps, and we can just paste it into this container. So let me just paste it like this. We can kind of align it with the button up here. So we can just copy the X value and paste it in here as well. So now things start to look good. We can type new project. There we go. Maybe we can even change the width and make it a bit wider. So this, that's a bit bigger. And let's also make it, it's in the middle of the container. So let's check the Y value here, copy this statement and put that code part into here as well. So now we have a nice looking button in the middle of our container. We have our active projects being shown. And if we press on the sidebar, we can see that everything adjusts and things look good. Oh, now next thing is going to be another container with our gallery. So let me put in one more container, and we're going to do basically the same thing as we did in our second container. We are going to look at the Y value, and we will just change a few things in there. Let me just first paste it. And now we're just going to change the number of the container. So in this case, we want to align it with the second container here. We will take away the drop shadow and the radius, and we will set basically the width the same as this one has. So let me just copy the width and put it in here. And we can copy the X value and put the X value in there as well. And then our container is set. And now what we can do is we can actually set the height of the container. We can say parent height, but parent height wouldn't be quite true because we need to subtract the heights of those containers. So we say minus container top height, minus container top 1 height, and minus container top 2 height. There we go. And now we have a perfectly fitted container in here. And in there, we can now insert a gallery, which is going to be a typical vertical gallery looking like this. We can set height and width to parent height and width. So let's say parent height, and we can say parent width. Perfect. And now we can say that we want, let me just check one more time. We have a wrap count of 3. So we go back to our gallery and we say we want a wrap count of 3. So it's going to be 3 cards basically, and we can adjust the template padding later. Now we can insert a container. So let me just choose one simple plain container, put it in here. Let me say height is going to be gallery to template height. We need to adjust X and Y values to 0. There we go. And the width is going to be template width. So gallery template width. Perfect. So we can adjust the color to background, the typical our standard background color which we had. So it's going to be the card background color. So it's going to be some kind of grayish color which we have here, which is going to be the main background. And later on, we will need that grayish color down here, which is going to be the card background. So now what I want to adjust is I want to adjust the padding. So if we look at here, we have a nice looking padding in here. We have a nice big padding in here. So we can do the same thing over here in our app. So let's go to gallery and adjust that padding to maybe 25, maybe even more, 35, maybe even 40. Let's try 40. That looks good. We can adjust the corners. We can say that the radius should be maybe 10. All right, things start to look good. Let's give a slight drop shadow. I think a slight drop shadow looks good. And as you can see, if we open the sidebar, the cards adjust. So for now, we want to add one text label, and in that text label, we will say this item title. But first of all, we need to assign the project's SharePoint list to our gallery, and then we can actually see the title. So now we can also see that we have multiple cards, and we can start designing the cards. We will add the title, we will add the status, and we will add the team name. So what I want to do is I want to actually make the cards smaller in their height, because I feel like the height is too much right now. So let me just adjust that. And the height of the card is going to be gallery to template height. Looks better already. So we had the title here. I will make that, let's say semi-bold. I think 14 is a good font size. And I will make it parent width. So, and the X value to 0. There we go. I will give it a padding of 15. So it's more in the middle of the card. And I think that kind of looks good. So now what we need to adjust is we want these kind of status bars here. And we want to have the team name here with some kind of icon. We could also, since our status is actually showing us the progress of our project, we can actually leave this part out. So we actually just need this upper part, which is going to be the title, the status, and the team assigned. So let's quickly do that. So let's first add another label so we can say team. Okay, and since team is a choice value in my SharePoint list, I needed to adjust the code a bit. So we have the team name in here. I will decrease the font size and make it normal. There we go. Perfect. And now for the buttons, what we want to do is we actually want to use normal regular buttons, take out all the colors, take out basically everything which makes a button, and just adjust it and say, let me show you. I prepared that one. So it has this pill style and I adjusted the color. I put a switch function. I said, if the value is in progress in my SharePoint list, it's going to be a specific color. If it's blocked, it's going to be a specific color. If it's done, it's going to be a specific color. If nothing's assigned to it, it's going to be a specific color. And this is how it looks like. So we have these different colors for different status. And also what I did is I adjusted the height and the radius to get this roundish look. I just need to divide the height by 2 and then use that number for the radius. In my case, my height is 24 pixels and my radius is going to be 12 pixels. So and that's how we got the status signs. And now actually the cards are done. They already look pretty good. Of course, there are lots of things which you could adjust when you really go into production with your app for your team. One thing I realize right now, which I don't really like, is the distance over here is bigger than the distance over here and here. So we could adjust it and try to make the distance similar. I'm just trying to figure out how big the size is. So we can actually try out just by playing around with the X value. So let's say we do it minus 30, maybe even more, 40. 40 looks good. So we just do the same over here as well. We go to the X value and we say minus 40. And now things are aligned and look a bit better. We can do the same thing over here. We go to the X value and we type in 40 and things will look better instantly. And I will do it for the rest now. All right, perfect. Now things are aligned, look a bit better, and the app looks actually pretty good. One thing which I'm missing right now is I want actually a pop-up to come and show when I press on new project. So we can quickly do this. It doesn't really take a lot of time since we have things prepared. So we go to the YAML library and we choose the model function. So we go to that component, copy the YAML code, and we go into our app, press on screen, press paste. And now we get this button and we press on it, a pop-up appears. So we want to take the logic of this button. So we press on it, we go to the onSelect property, we take what's in there, we delete the button, and we go to our new project button and paste that logic into its onSelect property. So when I press this one, this pop-up opens, but we don't want this card to be there. So we will delete this card. There we go. And we will go back to our library and we will choose this card component. So we go back to our app, paste the card component. There we go. We will set the X value so that it will be in the middle, parent width divided by 2 minus self width divided by 2. So now we can copy that. We go to Y and paste the same thing. We just replace width with height. There we go. Now it's perfectly in the middle, aligned. And now the problem is we need to make it only visible when show model is true. So we go back to our card component and say, when this is true, it should be visible. And what we can also do is we can set the button. We can use this logic. We go to the cancel button and we say it should set show model variable to false. And now when we press on that, it closes. Perfect. So I kind of realized we can actually also change the background color of these cards to card background color. Just looks a bit better. And now we have a really nice looking app. We can maybe make this a bit darker, but those are kind of small things which you can adjust later on in your project. Of course, you need to adjust the text in here, but it's a nice thing to have. So perfect, that's our app. We have a nice sidebar. We have a nice looking dashboard with our projects. You could link a new screen by pressing on one of those cards. You can press on new project, a pop-up appears, and you can type in or make it possible to type in a new project in here and patch it to your SharePoint list. And there you go, a nice looking app. Alright, this is it. I hope you liked the video, and once again, grab the free YAML component library, the link is in the description, or check out PowerIcons.dev to copy and paste icons into PowerApps directly. Other than that, hit the like button if you liked the video, or subscribe if you like, and catch you in the next video.